Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON BPT Founder Charya, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Raj Kumi Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gopramanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees of Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees of Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees of Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 आज हम श्रीमद् भागवतम पहला स्कंद तीसरा अध्याय श्लोक नंबर 6 सा एव प्रथमं देवा कौमारं सर्वम् आश्रितः चचार दुष्करं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मचर्यमखण्डितं सा एव प्रथमं देवा कौमारं सर्वम् आश्रितः चचार दुष्करं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मचर्यमखण्डितं सा एव प्रथमं देवा कौमारं सर्वम् आश्रितः चचार दुष्करं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मचर्यमखण्डितं
सा एव प्रथम देवं
कौमारं सर्वमाश्रितं चचारदुष्यं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मचर्यमखण्डितं
सा एव प्रथम देवं कौमारं सर्वमाश्रितं चचारं दुष्करं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मचर्यमखण्डितं
सा उसने एवा ही प्रथमं पहला देवा परमेश्वर कौमारं कुमारं आदिवाहित सर्गम सृष्टि आश्रितः अधीनः चचार संपन्न किया दुष्करम करने अत्यंत कठिन दुष्कर ब्रह्म की खोजी में ब्रह्मचर्य ब्रह्म की अनुभूति प्राप्त करने की तपस्या में
गंगा की अनुभूति प्राप्त करने की तपस्या में
अकंदितम
अतिदम
अविच्छिन्न
अविच्छिन्न
Paryavanava, explained by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. सृष्टि के प्रारंभ में सर्वप्रथम ब्रह्म के 4 अविवाहित पुत्र कुमारगण थे, जिन्होंने ब्रह्मचर्य व्रत का पालन करते हुए परम सत्य के साक्षात्कार हेतु कठोर तपस्या की। इस भौतिक जगत की पहले उत्पत्ति, फिर पालन और तब एक निश्चित कालावधि के बाद संहार होता रहता है। अतएव जीवों के पिता ब्रह्मा की विशिष्ट कृतियों के अनुसार सृष्टियों के भिन्न भिन्न नाम होते हैं। जैसा कि ऊपर कहा गया है, कुमारगणों की उत्पत्ति भौतिक जगत की कुमार सृष्टि में हुई। उन्होंने हम ब्रह्म साक्षात्कार की विधि सिखाने के लिए स्वयं ब्रह्मचारी रहकर कठिन व्रत का पालन किया। ये सारे कुमार साक्ष्यवेश अवतार हैं। ये कठिन व्रत पालन करने के पूर्व ही योग्य ब्राह्मण बन चुके थे। इसी उदाहरण से ये सुज्ञान प्राप्त होता है कि मनुष्य को केवल जन्म से नहीं अपितु गुण से ब्राह्मण की योग्यताएं प्राप्त कर लेनी चाहिए। तभी वे ब्रह्म साक्षात्कार की प्रक्रिया में आपने को लगाया। Okay, the rest of the class has to be in English with a translation.
आपके लिए थोड़ा मुश्किल है।
Translated by him, but you no problem in speaking English.
मैं थोड़ा बाहर जाने का काम कर रहा हूँ।
So,
you want to go somewhere and emergency.
he wants to do something. Okay, let him go. Alright, thank you for listening to the sloka at least.
क्षमा करना माता।
Okay. So, yesterday I repeated a lot of what Srila Prabhupada said in yesterday's purport. Because before we start talking about Kumaras, we need to know where the Kumaras are. Because Kumaras are not just ordinary incarnations. As Prabhupada said in this purport, they are Shakti-based incarnations. So we'll go through the distinction again so that you can try to understand. I also got some pictures. One picture of 25 of the avatars. They're not the same ones. There's some differences from this. This is from Bhagavatam, so some differences are there. And one picture, this is called the Golokisha. You can have a look at it later. So this describes the whole. This is material universe is here. and this is Vaikuntha planets, and this is Goloka Vrindavan. So here in the middle here, you will see Karanodakashai Vishnu. He's lying on the causal ocean, which is between the material and spiritual world. So by his breathing, all these universes are coming out of the pores of his skin. We've had that described. And this is just one universe. In that one universe, in the next incarnation, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu comes in, and the universe is empty at that time. He produces water from the pores of his skin, and he lies down in the water. So here he's lying down in the water, lying on an antishesh. And from his navel sprouts this lotus. First the lotus stem comes up, and here, when you see it at bigger size, you can read it. All the planetary systems are within the lotus stem. And Lord Brahma appears on the top of the lotus. And then we also have Lord Shiva over here. And we have the Mahatattva, and we have Durga Devi is there also. All in the material world. So in the material world, you can say that Lord Vishnu is what Prabhupada calls the fountainhead. And with him also, there's Lord Shiva, who's a transformation of him. So he's not Bhagavan, but he's also not Jiva. And then there's Lord Brahma, who is always a Jiva, but he's the topmost Jiva. And a few verses ago, Prabhupada called him the topmost engineers, topmost of the engineers. And then beyond that, when they will also speak about the spiritual world. So Prabhupada describes that in this chapter we're only looking at 24 incarnations, but actually there are innumerable incarnations. There are so many incarnations. We don't know them all. These are the principal ones. Another list, like I showed you here, this from Bhagavatam, it has 25. Someone describes, then you'll see pictures of 10 incarnations with the 10 principal ones. So, but actually there are unlimited incarnations. So, look at that. So, amongst the Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, Shiva, Brahma takes charge of Rajagun. So Rajagun is lots of energy and lots of creativity, because he has to create everything in the universe. Vishnu, who's peacefully lying and directing everything, he's in Sattva, and he's directing everything. And Lord Shiva, who is actually, in this picture, there's a Sada Shiva, who's an original. He lives on this planet on the boundary between the spiritual and material worlds. There's a planet which in the material world is called Mahal. Spiritual world, it is called Shiva's abode. Kailash. This is spiritual Kailash. But also there's a Shiva Rudra who's born from the forehead of Lord Brahma. Because what happened, Lord Brahma created his first progeny with these 4 Kumaras in today's verse. But his 4 Kumaras were interested in becoming brahmacharis. Lord Brahma wanted to populate the universe. He wanted Prajapatis. Prajapati means to populate the universe. Like every has to couple. He wants to. In the beginning there were no couples. In the beginning, his first productions came from his forehead. Like that. He created from his forehead. He didn't have a wife. So he produced these four young boys, brahmacharis. But he said, you go and become Prajapatis, you go and get married and have children. And they said, no, we want to stay brahmacharis. So they stay eternally like that, 25 years old. And then Brahman got angry. Because he's in the mode of passion, so sometimes in the mode of passion, you can get angry. So he got angry, and from his forehead came Rudra. Rudra means anger, or crying. So then he said to Rudra, okay, you become a Prajapati. So Ruja started becoming a Prajapati, but he was producing demoniac people because he was born in there out of anger. So he's producing bad people in the universe. So then Brahma had to scratch his head and say, no, wait a minute. Stop this. You go off and do some tapasya yourself. So then, now you find Lord Shiva, he lives in a crematorium, and he sits with ash all over his forehead, and he chants on japa every day. So this is one proof that Lord Shiva is not the supreme, because he's praying to somebody. So he's praying to somebody, you know who he's praying to. So his Ishtadev, his worshipful Lord, is Sankarshan, who's an incarnation of the Vishnu. As Krishna and Balaram, so you have Vasudeva, Krishna, and you have Sankarshan. So then, so Lord Brahma is always a jiva, and it's said that when we fall from the spiritual world, our first position is as Brahma. So we can also become Brahma, but it's not the best job. You live for yugas and yugas and yugas, and you have to keep doing this job. So he's a devotee, but he has a position to fill, and he has a desire to be good at his job. So he's not qualified to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Lord Shiva's position is very unique. In the Brahma Samhita, it's described in a nice analogy that Prabhupada also gives. Shiram Yatadani Vikara Vishesha Yoga. Lord Shiva is like yogurt, comes from milk. So Lord Shiva comes from Vishnu. He's actually an expansion of Vishnu. But you can't use yogurt when you want milk. If you want milk to make sweet rice, you can't say, oh, I've got some yogurt, that'll do, put it in. It doesn't work. So the same way, Lord Shiva is the expansion of, he's a direct expansion of Vishnu. But he cannot take the place of Vishnu. He has a special role in to supervise Tamagu and the destruction of the universe at the end of Brahma's day. There's a partial devastation. At the end of Brahma's life, there's a big devastation. And Lord Shiva takes care of that. So in that three, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, the Vishnu is actually the third Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So he's the super soul in the atom, and he's also here. We spoke about him when I spoke last time. He's also lying on the ocean of milk. And he's the one who the demigods pray to when they get in trouble. We say to the quite often, demigods get in trouble. So then Prabhupada explained in yesterday's purport that we're now going into these incarnations. But the first incarnation is a Shaktivation incarnation. So pastime incarnations are the first category that we know the most about. They're called Leela avatars. Things like Matsya, the fish. So Matsya had a job, they all fulfill service for Krishna. Matsya saved the Vedas from a demon who put the Vedas somewhere in the ocean. So Matsya went and saved them and brought them back at the time of cosmic dissolution. Then there's a turtle, tortoise, Kurma. Kurma the tortoise was used when they churned the ocean to bring out nectar, which is another big story in itself we can't go into today. But Kurma became the support for the churning rod, and so Kurma had that role. Varaha, the boar incarnation, he lifted the earth when Hiranyaksha, who was a demon brother of Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyaksha disturbed the earth from its orbit, and it fell into the Garbhodakasha ocean. So Varaha went down into the Garbhodakasha. So he took the form of a boar because it was sunk in the mud at the bottom. So the form of a boar is good for rooting in the mud and finding something. So he took the form of a boar and rescued the earth from the ocean. He sat it on the top of the ocean and then fought with Hiranyaksha and killed him. Lord Ram is here as this. Lord Ram is also sometimes called Sakshavesh Avatar. He's here in the list of these. That's Lord Ram doesn't really belong in the Then Buddha avatars, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And then we have what we call the Shakti-Vesh avatars. So they're not direct personal expansions, but they're living entities who have been empowered, especially with a particular type of potency. So the example is today's verse is the Kumaras. They were brahmacharyas and they wanted to cultivate Vedic knowledge. So their empowerment was Jnana Shakti. Their empowerment was to get knowledge. And the Kumaras became the head of one of 4 authorized sampradayas. We have, in our Vaishnava tradition, we have 4 sampradayas. Have you heard of that? Yes. So the Kumaras is one sampradaya. Rudra is another sampradaya, Lord Shiva. Sri is another sampradaya, that's Lakshmi. And the 4th one is Brahma. We're in the Brahma Madhvanvariya sampradaya. So they have, the Kumaras are empowered with transcendental knowledge, and therefore they are called Shakti-Vesh, means they're empowered with Shakti, they're empowered with the potency. Another example is Narad Muni. Narad Muni is empowered as being a guru to so many people all around the whole universe. He's empowered for Bhakti, with Bhakti Shakti. So Narad Muni is Shakti-Vesh avatar with Bhakti Shakti. Prithu Maharaj, who we meet in the 4th canto, is empowered to govern the world. He's empowered for that. So they're not ordinary souls, they are very special souls, and they carry potency and power like a mandate, like the government will give some mandates. The analogy is here that the government empowers his representative in different countries. And he says that he has the power of the government, but he's not the government. So Prabhupada in the purport mentions strongly that one cannot simply call oneself an avatar. An avatar has to either be an avatar, its expansion of the Lord, or a specially empowered personality, a Shakti-Vesh avatar. But how we know who they are is that they're revealed in the scriptures. The scriptures have descriptions of who the Lord's incarnations are, when they will appear, who their parents will be, what village they come. And so this is confirmed also by the great sages, the great munis. It's not, you can't popularly become an avatar. Like in India at the moment there are so many Kalki avatars. But actually Kalki comes at the end of Kali Yuga. And he comes in a specific place with a specific mother and a specific father. And none of these so-called Kalki avatars are. And the other thing, of course, is Krishna is not material. It doesn't get old and die. And all these avatars, so-called avatars, and so-called gods, like Sai Baba, everyone thought he was God, but he ended up in a wheelchair. That's not God. Right? It's not God. So we talked about, we might have talked about it at the university anyway. So one such incarnation who people question is the recent incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who sits on the altar. But he is also described in the Shastras. Before his incarnation, the Srimad Bhagavatam has a couple of verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. One verse, 11th canto, 5th verse, 32nd verse. 5th chapter, 32nd verse. Krishna Varnam Tisa Krishna Sango Pangasta Parsha Yadye Sankirtana Raye Yajanti Pi Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting, sankirtan, of the holy names to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he has a golden complexion. He is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Another incarnation in the 7th canto is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, in a verse, he says, you are known as three yugas, Triyuga, because when you come in Kali, you are hidden. You are Chana avatar. So that also refers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came not claiming himself, not accepting himself as Vishnu, but he was termed to be an incarnation of Krishna because of the Shastra and because of the sages who confirm it, because of the astrology and because of the things he did. So in those ways we know who is an avatar. Other verses are there. I've got one PowerPoint with so many verses that predict that he's going to come as a Brahmana, that his mother's going to be named Sachi, that his father's going to be named Jagannath, and they predict where he's going to be born. There are actually many, many scriptures in the Upanishads and in the Vedas themselves. So, one main thing that Srila Prabhupada is stressing in yesterday's purport is that this central figure, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he is the fountainhead of all. So from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu comes Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Brahma comes, Brahma comes directly from the navel, the lotus growing on his navel. Kshirodakashayi Vishnu also comes as his part. And then from Lord Brahma, Shiva comes. So the fountainhead is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then from that next Vishnu, the third Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, all these Leela avatars will come. So Lord Narasimhadev, Lord Varahadev, all these Leela avatars come from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And also, ultimately, the Shakti Avesh avatars. And Prabhupada talks about vibhutis, described in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And so we come back to the core verse for this, actually for the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Which is in this chapter. 3, verse 28. So chapter 3, verse number 28 is a very important verse. It's called the Paribhasa Sutra, which means it's the seed verse of the whole Bhagavatam. The whole of Bhagavatam comes from this verse. The first 2 lines in fact. Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. So he finishes Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami finishes this list of incarnations. And then he said, okay, all of these incarnations are either portions, direct expansions of Krishna, or plenary portions. But Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of God. So this verse is extremely important. So Paribhasa Sutra means that it's the verse that has the meaning of the whole Bhagavatam, and it's the verse that you refer to. If there's anything in the Bhagavatam that you don't understand, you can refer to this verse, the Paribhasa Sutra, and use that to understand whatever else you're trying to understand. So it's very important that we have a look at, that we understand this verse and remember. Okay. So, closing is a summary. Krishna's Bhagavan, Swayam Bhagavan, the original source, Krishna. Nishta is Vayati and Goloka. From him comes Karana Dakshay Vishnu. Karana means the cause. Karana Dakshay Vishnu. He sleeps in the causal ocean, which is also called the Vaitarani river. From him comes Garbha Dakshay Vishnu, the second Purusha, who enters the universe and gets called the fountainhead. From him comes Kshirodakshay Vishnu and Lord Brahma. They both come from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. From Brahma comes Shiva. Then all the Leela avatars and Shaktivesh avatars and Vibhutis come from Kshirodakshay Vishnu. So one verse in the Bhagavad Gita is important for us that will keep us going. Bhagavad Gita 4.9 Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vejitatvadaha Kyaktra deham punah janma naitimam iti sarajana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So if we understand that when Krishna appears, it's not an ordinary birth in an ordinary womb. Even when he appears as Krishna himself, he is transformed from the mind of Vasudeva to Devaki by initiation. And then when he appears, he doesn't appear out of the womb. He appears in front of them in a four-handed form, full of ornaments and armor and peacock feather on his head. He comes in a complete form. And then Mother Devaki says, yes, you're my worshipful Lord, but I really wanted you as a baby. And can you turn back into a baby? And so he turns back into a baby and becomes a baby. And then she takes over motherly interest and motherly affection takes over, and she says, but we're in prison and Kamsa might hurt you, so please go to our dear friend Nanda Maharaj in Gokul. So magically the prison doors open, the guards all fell asleep, and then Vasudeva picked up Krishna and took him past. He had to cross the Yamuna. The Yamuna parted for him to cross. It was raining, and Ananta Shesh was over his head, protecting from the rain. And they got all the way to Goloka. And then Vasudeva came back, put himself back in his chains. And then the baby girl came. He brought the baby girl with him. And then the baby girl cried, and everyone woke up. It's not a son. The eighth child is not a son, it's a girl. So that story goes on. Then Kamsa comes along and throws the baby against the wall and kills it. But it doesn't die. It's a baby girl, but it doesn't die. It flies up into the air. It says, no, the one who's going to kill you is already been born. So for the rest of his life, he's in complete anxiety. Okay, that's not the topic of today's class. But anyway, so that's today's class. You can have a look at these pictures and you can ask any questions you want to have. Any questions, or should we start the class?
Yes, Maharaj, I have one question.
Sure.
Related to this, but related to Shiva, who produced the demoniac activities like people. Why Maharaj?
Well,
because it's come from God.
Yes, come from God, but actually the role of this universe is to rectify the souls who are averse to Krishna. So therefore they have to be put into bodies suitable for their mood. When we leave our body, we have a material body, we have a subtle body. Material body has 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether. Subtle body has 3 elements: mind, intelligence, and ego. So those are all material. But if we leave this material body, those subtle elements go with us to the next body. And so we have to get a body that's suitable for what our mind is. If our mind is averse to Krishna, we have to come in a demonic form. Even we were talking about Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. Actually, they are the Lord's servants. You know that story?
Yeah, I've heard. I can't remember properly this.
Yeah, so the story is given that these same 4 Kumaras that we're talking about today. So these Kumaras, they remained in the form of 5-year-old boys, and they stayed naked. And generally, a 5-year-old baby, a small baby who's naked, can go anywhere they like. So they can, and because they were especially empowered, they could go anywhere in the universe they like. And one day they decided, I want to go and see Lord Vishnu. But they got to the door, and Jay and Vijay were the first doorkeepers. There's, I think, 7 gates between the door of Vaikuntha and Lord Vishnu. So Jay and Vijay were on the outside gates, and they stopped them and they said, we're not allowed to let anybody in. And then the Kumaras cursed them. We should be allowed to go in, we're just inquisitive, we just want to see who's there. Yeah, so they cursed them. They said, you're not acting like you should be. People who are here should be acting much better than that. So I curse you to go to the material world. And you can either have 7 births as a devotee or 3 births as a demon. So Jay and Vijay, they understood actually Krishna sometimes likes to fight.
Yes.
But actually Krishna cannot fight actual demon. Krishna doesn't have anything to do with him. So he wants someone to fight with. So actually Jay and Vijay were doing a service. By coming as demons, they were doing the first service. So in their first incarnation, they came as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And they were killed by the Lord's expansions. The next incarnation, they came as... I forget just now. In the third incarnation, they came as Shishupal and Bhagavatam in Krishna's Lila. So it's explained in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami that Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were killed by an expansion of Krishna. So therefore they had to come back again. But when they came as Shishupal and Bhagavatam, they were killed by Krishna himself. So then they were seen, the soul was seen coming out of their dead body and going into Krishna's body. So that doesn't mean they've merged with Krishna. But it means they've got a, it's called impersonal liberation. The impersonalists who worship the Brahman, who worship, say, no, there's no God. The whole universe is God. The whole universe is Brahman. So if they get anywhere close, they go to that planet, that Mahal, between the spiritual and material worlds, and they're stuck there. They think they're liberated, but they're actually stuck between the material and spiritual worlds. And the demons that are killed by Krishna go to the same place. So you can be a demon and you go to the same place as what these impersonalists go to. If you want to go beyond that, you can go to Vaikuntha, but the devotees in Vaikuntha have some desires. They desire to be with the Lord all the time. They desire to look like the Lord. They desire to have the same potency as the Lord. They desire to be on the same planet as the Lord. So they get their desires, but it's not the most purest of love. The most purest of bhakti is the gopis, because all the gopis think of is, I want to please Krishna. And so they don't care. They say, like our last verse of Shikshastra, Asli Shiva Pararitam Panashkunam Adarsanam Varmanam Karotha Yata Chata Vedadati Lampatupa Prananastu Sevanapa. Just my mind is just blank. Translation. I can't remember this. I know that Hindi translation, but I can't remember. But anyway, Radharani it's a verse spoken by Radharani, and she is praying. Let Krishna trample me. Let Krishna embrace me. Let me be broken-hearted by not being before Krishna. But nevertheless, Lord Krishna is the Lord of my life, my Prananath. I've got a whole presentation on Shikshastra. I can't find it just now. But she's praying like that. And that is the gopi's bhav. It doesn't matter what Krishna does. We have two relationships with Krishna. We have the queens of Dwarka, they're his wives. So they also have a conjugal relationship. But their relationship is tempered. If you're the wife, you have a husband, you have some expectation from the husband. Even Prabhupada calls them in the Krishna book, Prabhupada says, Krishna acts just like a hen-pecked husband. They say, the wives say, Krishna, can you do this today? Oh, don't go anywhere, I want you with me today. And they obey him. So this is not as pure a love as what the gopis have. The gopis have such pure love. Radharani says, okay, Krishna's with Chandravali, I'm devastated, but actually I'm happy that he's happy. So she says, I just want him to be happy. But she's not happy when he goes to Mathura, because she knows that he won't be happy with these queens in Dwarka who don't have such pure devotion. She knows that it's her and the gopis that are the ones who can please Krishna the most, because he's indebted to them. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, they come to him for the rasa dance. He says, Na parayayam, I cannot repay you. As Krishna says, I've got so many devotees and I look after all of them. Whereas you gopis, you're exclusively devoted to me. You don't think of anyone but me. But I have to look after all my devotees. So therefore, I cannot give you what you are giving me. I cannot repay you. So please let your own glories be your reward, because I can't repay you. So we can aim to be the gopis. I answered a little more than the Christians, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, good, Jai. Okay. Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you for attending my class. We can stop this. Finish.